like I always knew this was possible, but it comes to a combination. Like some people say, work ethic beats talent, which I agree with. But then once you have some talent and you have that work ethic, that's when you're unstoppable. And that's kind of what I think I had over these past 4 years. Was I was, relatively talented just at, video games and reaction time and intuition and just stuff like that. And then, that work ethic is what really got me to the next level. And, talent isn't anything if you don't put in the work. So work ethic by far is more important than talent. And, the harder you work, like you're gonna do better than someone who just is naturally talented.
Welcome back, everyone, to the SteadyTrade podcast. Back with the whole crew. Got Kim and Steven here this week, and then we've also got a repeat guest, which is one of my favorite guests, Jack Kellogg. I still remember back to, a few too many podcasts, but a couple of years ago when Jack was first coming up, got the pleasure of interviewing him. And man, I remember getting done with that podcast and was just like, and Jack maybe he'll remember the day, or maybe I can Google it, but it was just like he was kind of getting started, already had some great success, but I just remember ending that podcast and I was like, holy crap. I mean, this guy is work ethic and his focus. And it's like, this guy's got it. And I know I say that a lot about the guests we have, but man, I still remember looking back and, the story of him hustling at his mall kiosk and then hustling as a valet. And I'm like, man, this, and he's laser focused on trading. I'm like, he takes that work ethic, applies to that focus. He's the real deal. And here we are. We'll talk about some of the stats. I mean, over the last year in the penny stock world, dare I say, I think either the top or the top 2 or 3 in penny stock trading, profits wise. And I just kind of look back to that very first episode, and then I've interviewed him a few other times, and Kim and Steven have had him back, and just so inspirational for a 65-year-old man to look back at a young man like this and just be like, man, it's I hope everyone that's, in your 20s and you're interested in trading, learn from Jack, learn from Kyle, learn from Matt, learn from, other than the drinking and the prostitutes, learn from Steven. There's so much inspirational stuff here. And welcome back, Jack. And then we've also got some other stuff to talk about. I don't want to forget, number one, many of you probably know Jack's been doing the This Week in Steady Trade with Matt and Kyle. Sometimes Bryce jumps on as well. And then he's also doing the Breakouts and Breakdowns chat room, which is brand new, built in the StocksToTrade platform. So I want to make sure we don't talk about that or forget to talk about that. So welcome back, Jack. Welcome back, Kim. Welcome back, Steven.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I actually think the first time that we talked, it was March of 2019. When I was still in Michigan with Dom and all that. And,
yep.
That's just 2 years ago. So it's been a wild journey so far, and definitely has felt a lot longer than 2 years. But
now, real quick, my first question is, you look back to those days, and so what are your profits at right now?
6.3 million.
6.3 million. I mean, you go back 2 years ago, if I would have said like, hey, Jack, do you think you'll hit 6.2 million in 2 years from now? what would you say?
I would say probably not. I'd say like 5% chance or less.
But, I mean, it seems nuts even, man. Just again, 2 years. I mean, like you said, it's like this last 2 years, man. It's been incredible. But damn, it seemed like it's been a long time, man.
Yeah.
Just so really busy, so much going on. Again, wow. It seems like, again, I knew it was about 2 years, but it feels like 5 years ago we were talking, but.
Yeah, that's what I would say. It feels like literally 5 years. But it's just been so busy that like every day it feels so much longer because you're putting in more work than you probably typically would be in a slower market. So that's why, the days feel a lot more dragged out, and that's why the time's going by so slow, because there's just so much every single day. Thankfully, it is slowing down a little bit. So I am.
Today.
A little bit. Yeah, today. For now.
Jack, what do you attribute all of it to? Like, if you had to find that's one kind of quality about the way you operate, what would you say is the most important quality that you look back on and say, wow, that quality got me to this place?
I would say the stress that I put on myself to do better and better every single day, where like, I feel like a lot of people kind of get complacent, whereas like, I was like, no, I can take more size there. No, I can do better there. And it was just like a constant like race in my head. And, also like FOMO, I didn't let myself like miss anything. It's like, I got to be zoned in. I got to be focused. I got to be working, because these opportunities, they could put the trading tax on at the end of the year, and like the market could just sell off huge. So it's like, I need to be putting in like everything I got. Like nothing else really mattered. I like took some of my health. Like, I didn't have the best health for the past few months, where I've been sick, because it's been a lot of stress. It's been a lot of everything, but I understand that, I am 22, so I can push myself and push myself and push myself, to just take advantage while the opportunity is here. So I think it's just like that constant want to do better, and just kind of also, you need to be self-aware of what I'm doing. I think that's also key, to be self-aware of what I'm doing. But
where does that come from? The self-awareness.
I don't know. I've talked to a lot of traders during my journey, and I got the chance to talk to this one trader who is actually younger than me, and he's gone from like 75,000 into, I think, last time I talked, he was at like 30 to 50 million. And he just kind of opened up my eyes to, what's possible. And I got to talk with him on the phone for a couple hours. He is really private, so I can't really disclose who it is. But just like kind of seeing his mindset and the way like he operated really set me up for like how I was going to operate, how I was going to go throughout my process, where though like unprofitably, we have Tim Gertani to look up to. And just with Tim Gertani's trading skills, like, not to knock on him or anything, but like his process just like didn't work for me. I didn't like how he manages risk and like how he goes about trading. It just never really clicked for me. So it was just kind of all about like developing myself, and like then teaching, what I knew to like Kyle and Matt and my girlfriend. And it was just like all of us kind of, working together and trying to, create this new revolution of traders kind of coming up from this 2020-21 market bubble.
I'm glad you went there, because that was one of my things that I wrote down in my indecipherable notes. But, you guys have this group, you're all similar ages, very similar mindsets. Again, I've had I've had the pleasure of meeting you, Kyle, Matt. Worked closely with Matt a lot the last couple of years, and it's again inspiring for me. And I'm sure all many of the listeners have seen my Twitter rants. It drives me nuts when all these old bastards complain about young people. And I'm like, man, I'm inspired. I'm like, to me, youth and work ethic, and I'm like, God damn it, I'm going to work harder to try and be as good as these guys are, even though I'm 4 times older. But how much of that group, how much do you think of that has helped get you guys where you are? I mean, a lot of wild success with all you guys.
That's what I honestly attribute it a lot to, is just like this group of, it's the same thing as like, like a soccer team where like we're discussing the trades, but we're all kind of doing it a little bit different. We're not like following each other exactly, but just kind of having like that chemistry to just kind of like bounce ideas off of. And like, if someone's thinking something similarly, like if Matt's and Kyle are all on the same trade, like I'm going to be a little bit more convicted. We're finding plays like, hey, heads up on this sector, kind of like joking. And also the aspect of just like joking around throughout the market day, kind of like taking, pressure off just being focused, but like still trying to stay in the zone.
Yeah.
And me and Kyle are, always talking on the phone, just about whatever, calling before aftermarket close and just kind of, shooting whatever. And I think all of it just really, really has helped me. I don't even know like how to describe it. It's just, it's amazing is what it really is.
Well,
Yeah,
it's community, camaraderie.
The one anecdote I had was that made me think of this when I, my note that when the question was, so when I started the business with my business partner, we're same age, we went to high school together, everything for 10 years, business exploded, booming, booming, booming. Biggest mistake I ever made, and learn this, everyone watching, never take the money. Never take the outside money. You will regret it. Okay. Anyway, we wanted to expand. We bring in this wealthy investor, completely different mindset, man. And again, guy was an entrepreneur, but just didn't think the way we think. I was 3 years later, I was gone. I'm like, it ain't the same. It's not the same. And we even though we took the money, we weren't growing like we were. We weren't enjoying it like we were because we lost that sense of community. And it always got me thinking, like, again, you guys are like the similar demographic, for lack of a better term. It's like small town guys, all same age. It's like it always. And I thought that really, to me, might be a big contributor to how well all of you've been doing. So,
no, I completely agree. It's all kind of just like that chemistry and just like how everything works. And yeah, that's a great point that you made about, even though this guy has more money, even though like it seems like, when you write it up, it seems like, yeah, this is the best move. But sometimes, the best move is just sticking to you know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that you've realized that what Gritani was doing wasn't a fit for you. I think that takes a lot of courage, Jack, to just see that a pattern somebody has, no matter how successful they are, doesn't seem to be your pattern, and that you had to go through what you had to go through to find your own. What do you think you could attribute that to? That takes kind of courage, especially as a beginner, to say, wow, here's somebody who's really successful, but I feel like I have to find what fits in fact, your girlfriend spoke about that too. Mariana, she spoke about finding her personality in her trades. So how did you know wise enough to say to yourself, I have to find my personality?
I would say that through my journey, I have, spoke to a lot of traders, whether it was living with Dom for a year and seeing how he trades, or it was, looking up to Ducks and Gritani and Huddy and seeing how they're, short selling and like want to be like them. And I've just kind of, I would say I've been through the ringer of, looking at every single trader, seeing like every single trader's process. And, maybe I take a little bit of something from them. But at the end of the day, it was kind of about finding how I like to trade, and that's how I was able to exponentially grow, because I have that confidence in myself and not, anybody else. It's, I have the support also that I need from like Kyle and my girlfriend and all them. And I would just say, like, after just making mistakes, like trying to use like Gritani strategy, or, also seeing like how Dom was making mistakes, it just kind of came like to a realization in my head. And it was just like, I could actually get a better entry here, and I could have got a better exit here if I did this. So it was kind of taking what everyone knew and then trying to find out how to optimize what they're doing and maximize it, and then through what I was saying earlier about putting that stress on myself that I can be doing better. And the only thing that's stopping me is just an extra zero.
But it kind of always comes down to that. Like all of the best traders and any trader that I've spotted who makes it, it's just having a really good intuition for pattern recognition. Like that's what it seems to come down to, just being able to recognize good patterns and how to turn them into profits. But I mean, like, how have you like defined or refined that skill, and how much of the grind, you've like mentioned that you've got sick, like how much of the grind, how much have you actually been grinding?
I mean, I've been pretty much like nonstop thinking about trading since like 2017 in January, where like I knew it was it for me. So then it was just about like that entire year of just like learning from Tim Sykes and like setting the foundation kind of opening the doors to these other traders and just starting to learn a little bit of stuff and just kind of creating like that foundation of the house. And then it was about living in Michigan, or then it was about kind of going out on my own and starting to try to go full-time trading, starting to short, because that's what all the big people were making a lot of money on. Doing that in 2018 for the first half, and then not finding much success. And then it was, staying with Dom for a year and, seeing his process and growing with him. And then it was going through like that slow period in 2019 in the summer, where I think that's what separated me from like a lot of traders, was that slow period in 2019 where a lot of people were just like, the market's slow, I'm going to go golf, or I'm going to go, take a vacation, I'm going to go party or do whatever. And like, for me, it was just, wake up. I was even waking up earlier because I wanted to learn NASDAQs and stuff like that, and just trying to expand, opening multiple brokerage accounts, and like being hungry for that next, leg of success. Like what I had done wasn't like really anything in my head. Like I had made like 100,000 at that time, but I wasn't even remotely happy with that. Like I knew that was just a start of capital that I could then turn into, much more if I stayed on the process, if I kept learning and expanding my knowledge. And I think, a lot of people just kind of be like, okay, I made money doing this, so I'm just going to kind of keep doing this. And if it slows down, like I'm just going to take my break and kind of just do whatever. Whereas for me, it was like, I just kept learning through that 2019 period where it was slow. The market was slow. Like there wasn't many plays at all. And then coming into 2020, like I was ready for that next level of growth, which I achieved through like that 2020 period from the beginning to the end. And then that really set me up for these first, December, January, February, of these, this has been the most insane 3 months that I've seen, December, January, and February, where, trillions of dollars are getting pumped into the OTC market. You got the GameStop ordeal, you got the stimulus checks. There's just so many things going on that created tons of opportunity these past 3 months. And I was ready for that just through that grind that I had put in for all these years.
But can I just ask, and I know it might sound a bit simple, but it's not probably for a lot of people, but like, what was the grind? Like, what were you doing? Like, what got you prepared for this?
No, I think that's a good question. I think a lot of people want to know. Great question.
People don't know, like, it's, people will
you
just say, oh yeah, I grinded really hard, but
exactly.
What did you literally do so I can copy?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what did you do?
I would say it's like, there's so much that goes into it where, obviously, let's just start simple. Like obviously spreadsheet tracking, like being meticulous with your trades. So like putting in that work after hours on the weekend, tracking your setups by strategy. So like that's kind of the fundamental side. And then I would say there's also another side, which is like the networking side, which also I think I did really well, where then it's like, going out and reaching out to traders, like asking them questions and being the one who's listening and just kind of listen to what everyone has to say. And then I would say there's another side also, which is the screen time, where you're watching the stocks trade, you're watching the key levels get hit, you're watching time and sales in the level 2. And so like, that's kind of the 3 pillars, where it's the screen time and watching, the level 2 in the tape trade out and the patterns, play out after you study them from the beginning in 2017. Like I was saying with the foundation, it's just about, studying them and kind of getting an idea of the patterns. And then it's about, witnessing them and missing. And then it's about trading them and, still messing up, but maybe starting to get small profits. And then it's about, getting the first stage. Like in 2019, I would say that was the first stage when I grew my initial money, my initial 30,000 into 100, low 100,000. And then the stage after that was then, optimizing and maximizing, the best that I could all of 2020, and then just focusing on nothing else for the past 3 months and just, staying in tune with the market as best that I can. So if that was a good answer, I'm not sure.
No, I'll just finish, but I think it was a great answer. I think it was a really great answer. And the irony of it is that you're not saying anything that's rocket science. You're just doing what people are meant to be doing, but they just don't do. And I just think that I'm just curious as well, like final thing, like what, like, for you, I think you've just done all the right things. And how much of it's talent would you say, and how much of it's hard work? Because I used to think that you were just, and I don't want to take it away from you because I've got to know you better, but I just thought Jack is some freakish talented person. But then I met you and I saw your work ethic, and then I listened to you and I hear that you've just done all the right things consistently for a period of years. So I'm just like, what do you think people can replicate what you've done if they do your level of work, or can anyone make it in trading if they do the right things and actually do it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think anyone can make it in trading, and I think like my scenario is a little bit special where I excelled at video. Like a lot of good traders, sometimes they'll excel at video games growing up, and that was kind of me where, you know, I wasn't great at school and, you know, reading, writing, spelling, not the best at that. But I was really good at simple math and I was really good at video games. So I think that kind of prepared me a little bit just to have that quick reaction time, that quick intuition of knowing what to do, like on the keyboard, on the mouse, knowing what I'm looking at on the screen. So I would say that was like the only thing that kind of got me ahead. And then also just my limited distractions that I had. Like I went all in on this where like some people, you know, they already have a job, they already have a wife, they already have kids, they already have, and just not having that was also, I think, very key to what I was able to do, because I could just revolve my life around trading for these, you know, 3 years. So I could, like, I always knew this was possible, but it comes to a combination. Like some people say, you know, work ethic beats talent, which I agree with. But then once you have some talent and you have that work ethic, that's when you're unstoppable. And that's kind of what I think I had over these past 4 years. Was I was, you know, relatively talented just at, you know, video games and reaction time and intuition and just stuff like that. And then, you know, that work ethic is what really got me to the next level. And, you know, talent isn't anything if you don't put in the work. So work ethic by far is more important than talent. And, you know, the harder you work, like you're gonna do better than someone who just is naturally talented.
See, that video game aspect is something that's got me actually excited too, because, you know, again, I know this has kind of been my theme already, but, you know, a lot of people will make fun of these people, you know, men and women that grew up gaming. And from a trading perspective, I think it's awesome, man, because now, you know, you've got that focus. I mean, listen, if you're, whatever the game is, you know, this will date me, but, you know, Call of Duty or whatever. I mean, if you're not paying attention, you're going to suck, you know, and you got to be focused. And like you said, you're just used to the mechanics as well. You know, you're just, and I'm excited for that. You know, again, this entire generation that grew up with that gaming, and now, like you said, with the markets where we are, you know, billion shares traded in NASDAQs, you know, 20 runners a day. It's never been more like a video game that I can remember. I mean, I know people will make fun of the markets. Oh, it's not a game. But I mean, last couple of years, I mean, it's like a game out there. I mean, there's just stuff flying everywhere. And if you can stay focused and you're used to that, I'm excited for all these young people that are coming up that can, you know, handle the crossfire, for lack of a better term. So
For sure. Hey, Jack, did you have support of, you know, your immediate family or the people around you before you know, got in with Matthew and Kyle? Did you have support encouraging you?
No, I mean, my dad was definitely my number one doubter, who was like trading's a scam. Like you're never going to make it. You need to work with your hands. You need to, like he always just like quit trading right now. Like when obviously I had a lot of early struggles. So he was like, just quit and just, you know, I'll teach you how to be an electrician. You'll be able to, you know, just work for people, make your own money. Like it's great. So I had him always doubting me. And then my mom, she just, you know, if I was like, oh, Mom, I want to, you know, jump off cliffs for a living, like, this is really what I like to do. She just like will support me no matter what.
That's good. At least you had one of the two who had your back. But how does your dad respond to what's happened for you now?
He just like, he says he's like really proud of me, and he's always telling like his coworkers, like showing them like what I'm doing and stuff like that, and telling them, and just stuff like that. But nothing too crazy. He constantly says like, I thought you couldn't do it. I thought you couldn't do it. Like, he just always says like, thought you couldn't do it. I doubted you. Like, you proved me wrong. You proved me really wrong. Just stuff like that.
That must feel pretty satisfying, Jack, to know that you were able to do it. I think it sometimes encourages people when you don't have the support, because it makes you want to kind of, show them what you can do. And sometimes it can cost you. So I'm glad that you had some support from your mom. Did you find your friends understood what you were doing, or did you create community of traders as early as you could? Were there anybody in your kind of sphere of growing up or gaming friends that supported you initially?
No, I would say like I grew up in a really small town. There was only about 75 people in my class.
Wow.
So, I had really good friends, but they didn't really see, or I would say they didn't have the work ethic that I did. Like, they kind of just were just going with the flow and that type of stuff. And like, I told them what I was doing and stuff. And like, after telling them enough, like, I just didn't even like really mention it at all, because it didn't really get any of us anywhere. So like, I would just then like, once I realized they weren't really into it, then I would just like kind of keep like our relationship that we did have before I got into trading. And like, I think that helped me, because then I could have friends that I could, like just go back to and just like kind of detox from the market and just kind of like hang out with my friends and just like have fun.
Totally.
So that's the kind of group that I had just with my close friends. And then I would say, the community that I have now with Kyle, Matt, and all them, those now they're like my, coworkers and my really good friends at work, which is also key. So it's just, but like I'm saying, it's with everything, it's multiple pillars of everything that you need to, like, you really need that foundation to hold up the house. You can't just have one support beam. You need, multiple support beams in every direction to keep that house as level as possible.
Yeah. And Kim, you remember, Jack kind of created that community, because you sought out Dom, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I sought out Dom, and then I started, me and Kyle, I noticed Kyle was doing pretty well. He was up like 30,000 as well, and I was up 30,000. And then me and Kyle started talking like way back then. Wow. And then grew with Kyle, and then my girlfriend, who I met at the 2019 conference.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that was like a year and a half ago. And then like also that also was when I started, that's when I got out of my slump. Like, she really helped me get out of my slump, because in Michigan, like, it was very depressing just being there with Dom. Like, Dom had his family, Dom had, friends, and, he had a dog and all this stuff. And I was just there like in my room, and it was just, working and trying to get better. So just going to that conference, and that was, before I moved back home to Connecticut, then meeting her at that conference, and when I haven't like really talked to any girls for years because I was just into trading. Yeah. So it was just kind of nice to have like a softer relationship, you know what I mean? Just have like that.
Totally.
And
I think that was the same conference Steven had 15 girlfriends at, wasn't
it? I don't know. Jack, did we meet in person, or did we like say hello to each other, or I can't remember.
I don't think in 2019, but I remember in 2017, I remember I saw you and I was like, hey, let's play poker or something. And you were trying to find like a deck of cards in 2017. We didn't end up finding any.
Wow.
That sucks. That sucks.
We'll
get that going. We'll get that going next conference.
Mariana spoke about that conference and how she was like the only one of the very few girls there, and she felt kind of awkward because she really didn't have anybody to talk to, and there were so many like collections of guys where she couldn't kind of like walk in and interrupt and be like, hey, can I introduce myself? She's like, so she just kind of kept to herself. So how did you guys meet at the conference?
She came up to me with some questions, just like some simple questions, and she seemed like really into it, and I just had given her my number, just like kind of help her out and see where things went. And then I was moving back from New Hampshire, or I was moving back from Michigan to Connecticut, like a week after, and she ended up just being like an hour and 30 minutes to New Hampshire. So we just, I mean, I didn't really think anything would ever like come of it. And we just kind of started talking, and we were just friends, honestly. We were just friends for months. And then we really understood each other, and we both kind of had the same schedule, the same mindset. So things just kind of escalated, and really awesome, grateful Jack. For it.
Very cool. Very cool.
So can I just jump in and ask, like, because I'm thinking, like, what do people want to hear? And a lot of people will be excited for this interview, right? You're a big deal these days. It's super cool. But people are going to be thinking, like I understand, like, how you've got here and the different pillars and the networking, the screen time, and the tracking and the spreadsheets. You kind of outlined there were the 3 pillars, but like, where has it led you to? Like, what are the areas of the market where you see the biggest growth? Where are you making the biggest profits? And I know it's like kind of OTCs, and I see you in that sub penny stuff, and I know I should be in it as well, but can you just like explain to people so like they know the direction where you're making this big money?
Yeah, I would say my favorite stocks to trade are the cleanest multi-day runners. So OTC really offer, like, I like NASDAQ too, like they're cool. And I have a great understanding in my head of how multi-day runners move, and like kind of how to capitalize on that, that first green day, then the breakout, and then, staying long for that breakout, and then understanding when the momentum is kind of shifting, and then kind of getting short for the first red day, and then, buying the panic and selling it into a bounce. So like, it's kind of all about, for me, it's like, it's not even about the patterns or anything. It's about, understanding a ticker, a stock, a name that can move clean in a multi-day fashion. And just like stay. And I think that's where like a lot of my edge can sometimes be exploited higher than normal, because I'm very familiar with how the stock trades. And I think like that, once you understand how a stock trades, and then once you understand the pattern that the stock's in, then you can size up more and find that area where you're supposed to be entering, where you're supposed to be exiting, because of that experience you have on the ticker and the pattern. And that has really helped me. But other than that, like, I just really keep it simple, and I trade, first green days, breakouts, first red days, panic dip buys. I will take also parabolic shorts, which is just an opposite panic dip buy. So, but I'm only going to take a parabolic short on a multi-day runner, where I understand that, like, I'm not just going to short, a first green day going parabolic. Like, it has to be a stock that's moving in a breakout. Like, it's having a breakout and it's going parabolic. So like, this is where I would be selling my long if I was a breakout buyer. So it's, like I said, it's all about understanding that multi-day framework.
I tell you, I love the answer, and I 100% agree. I talk about all the time, just seat time, talk about being here every single freaking day for 15 years. But I'll say this, back to Steven's question, like what people want to hear. That's like the least popular answer of all time. That you just got to put in the seat time. Because nobody wants that. Right. Nobody wants the hack. Everybody wants, listen, I love Tim Ferriss. His book might be back there, but it's like, there's ultimately,
you want the pill.
There's very few hacks, man. It's so much of this. Like you said, people will be like, well, how do you recognize this ticker? Because he's probably watched AABB for 2 freaking years, and sorry, listeners, you might want to, but
it's just screen time. Truth. It's screen time and staying curious. Like, I'll never forget.
Curious, well said.
I'll never forget. Like, I thought learning longs was impossible, and then chatted with Dan Irish for a bit, and bought an hour or 2 hours a day into trying to kind of understand what long pattern works for me. And then all of a sudden, like, eureka, you start like seeing like potential long squeezes that reclaim VWAP, and it's just the time, like, but just I think what Jack's done, and I don't want to speak for him, but it's like putting more time in, mastering each individual pattern to the point where you can play every pattern in the cycle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is all about the cycle of, the framework, and it's about like once you can get on a stock, and you play the first green day, you play the breakout, you hold the breakout through the multi-day run, when to flop short and then short it back down, when to buy the dip, when to short the daily bounce and then, eventually buy the bounce after it's sold off for 3 days. And like, that's all you need is a few good tickers a month that you can maximize rather than trying to maximize the same pattern every single day. Whereas like, I'd rather zone in on a stock that trades really well, that I really understand, that has good fills, especially in the OTCs. Like, not every stock is going to fill me really good. And especially as I get more capital and stuff, like, I need to focus on the stocks that will fill me fast. So I'm not going to just, my first time trading a stock, I'm not going to, throw a ton of money into it. But once I trade the stock, 3-4 times, I'm going to kind of understand, how it moves, because every stock kind of moves a little bit different. Whether it's going to be a low float, a thick float, whether it's an OTC, $3 stock, whether it's an OTC 3-cent stock, whether it's a 30-cent stock, and just kind of understanding how it trades.
Now, one thing I will say to all the newer traders out there, what Jack just said there, you won't be trading 1 billion shares a day like Jack does. So take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. My man swings some size these days. Okay. But yeah, so I mean, same idea, but a lot, keep in mind what Jack just said. He really has to take into consideration, especially on these, is there enough liquidity for him to trade the kind of size he wants to trade? So again, let's say it's some 1 cent stock. How many shares of that are you trading a day?
It really just depends on how much it's trading. And like, the kind of rule of thumb that I like to go off of is just like kind of what the level 2 is showing. So, if it's showing, 10 million share bidders and sellers, like, I know that there will be someone to get me in or out at a key level. So then it's just about like finding the best area to buy. Also, like, back in the day when I had a smaller account, I was a lot more like chasey, where, I can take these positions at a risky spot way above VWAP when it's kind of breaking high day, looking for that quick predictable move. But now, like, with the bigger size, like, I need to be patient. I need to be buying dips. I need to, you know what I mean? So it's a lot different now.
Jack, what are the questions?
With great power comes great responsibility.
That's right, for sure. What are some of the questions you get all the time on Twitter that you think are the biggest misnomers for the newbies, that you're like, oh my God, do I have to answer this question again? But they need to know.
I would say a lot of the times, like, the ones that really just get on my nerve is, what broker do I use, or what scanner do I use? And I've just answered it so many times. Like, the brokers that I use is E-Trade for buying OTC penny stocks, and then for my shorting accounts, I have Speed Trader and Cobra Trading, and that's basically all I use. Like, I have tested a lot of brokers in my day, like TD Ameritrade. I've tested them. I've tested what are they called? One of Tim's shorting brokers, Centerpoint. I absolutely hate Centerpoint. They're just a robbery, and that's where I first started. And I ended up, paying like $1,000 in ECN fees when I had a really small account one time, because I didn't understand how the commission structure worked.
Wow.
So just be careful of that. And then for what scanner I use, I don't really like scanning too much, because I will scan though and take a look at the percent gainers just to kind of make sure I'm not missing anything. But it's all about adding the stocks that are running to my watch list, and then sorting the stocks by the percent gain on the day. So then, like I was saying, like, I like focusing on like stock, a particular name in general. So I kind of have an idea of what I want to do before the market even opens. I don't really like getting distracted by top percent gainers. Like I was saying, it's just focusing on the stocks that I'm familiar with. So it's just about adding them to the watch list. And these stocks, they're going to run in cycles. So it's just all about, what cycle of the pattern are we on? Where, December and January, we saw a lot of stocks breaking out, and they would just hold. They would just hold for a few days. They would go on another leg. They would hold. They would go on another leg. So in December and January, it was just like a lot of buying breakouts. And also in January, I really took a step back from short selling, because every short was just not working.
That was tough.
So then in February, shorts started working a lot better, but also I got, I was overly long biased a little bit in February because I thought they were just going to hold and go higher again. But then there was a clear momentum shift. One day where just like every single OTC stock just panicked out the open. Like the OTCs literally became like a SPY or like an actual market where when one OTC stock was selling off, like the entire OTC market was selling off, which is something really, really cool because, in 2019, 2018, 2017, we would see like sector OTC plays follow each other, but we never saw an entire market follow each other. So I think it was really cool to see that the OTC market was growing as a market and like actually becoming somewhat legitimate because, it's actually like acting like the SPY.
Wow.
So
I just keep hoping and praying Robinhood will open up OTCs, man. Please, please call your congressman.
So Jack, so I saw the announcement of breakouts and breakdowns. I thought that was super, super cool because I've saw like obviously see the YouTube content you and Kyle put out. Kyle's put out, you've put out, and it's some of the best stuff on the net. So how did the chat room come about and how is it starting out and how's it going and what can people expect from it?
Yeah, so me and Kyle have kind of been in the talks for a little bit now about opening a chat room. And at first we were going to make a chat room just like with shorting plays because back in, midsummer, we were kind of just focusing on shorts because there just wasn't too much opportunity on the long side, in May, August, and that's kind of when we started talking about it. But then like as the year kind of progressed, like my long profits just, skyrocketed and passed all my shorting gains over these years. And then we're like, let's make it about, trading the supernova framework. So we thought of, the name Breakouts and Breakdowns, where we're going to capitalize on supernova type setups where we're looking for the breakout, like I was saying this entire episode. So we kind of just do some trade alerts, kind of some commentary on what we're looking at, so the members can see how we kind of go about trading these supernovas. And it's not to like follow an alert. Like when I was kind of learning my process, it was all about seeing what the successful traders were doing and kind of like how they were, seeing minute by minute what their commentary was, and then just watching the stock. And I was like, why was he thinking that there? So I think it's a great learning opportunity. And then on top of that, me and Kyle are also doing one webinar each per month, where it's just going to be a strategy session where at the beginning of the month, I talked about first green days because a lot of these stocks were on the backside of the supernova where they were constantly downtrending. So I'm looking for those reversals in those first green days. So we went over that in the room, and a lot of people really understood it, and they have been taking advantage of these first green days in the OTC market. And Kyle has a webinar on Friday, and actually I was going to throw in a bonus webinar tomorrow just to kind of talk about how I want some people to start tracking their trades by patterns and kind of showing them how to do that. And then also just talking about, a few of my trades this week and kind of how things have been slowing down and how I'm making that mindset shift into being a lot more meticulous and selective. So that's kind of what the room details, but so far so good. Got a bunch of members in there so far. And, it's relatively cheap for the value that's offered in there, I think.
Oh yeah, I think it's a steal, and I've been watching it every day actually. But so yeah, I mean, we'll so if you're listening, definitely head over to SteadyTrade.com. We'll link that to the Breakouts Breakdowns chat room. So again, don't forget, write it down. You can link over, you can check it out, jump in there right away, see what Kyle and Jack are up to, and it's. I mean, again, it's. I think for what you pay, it's a steal. So
what's the future hold for you, Jack?
The future holds short term right now. Like let's just kind of talk about get back to like the pillars. So there also is like multiple pillars of life. where, you know, you have health, wealth, love, and happiness. So obviously I have Mariana and I have, you know, my trading. So those pillars are taken care of. But, you know, grinding my tail off for these last 4 years, I really have developed like a lot of tension in my back and my neck, and a lot of knots, and a lot of, you know, uncomfortability and a lot of stress.
Are you bald yet? Are you gray yet?
No,
Not yet. You're getting
I
there.
do have a lot of gray hairs though. But I have started, you know, doing some mobility courses just to kind of, you know, stretch out my shoulders. And just every single morning, you know, I'm moving, I'm, you know, doing, you know, stretches that my shoulder blades and my neck like aren't used to seeing, because it's just been a constant, you know, literally on the computer, like typing same motion. So for me, you know, going into these summer months now, it's about, you know, still staying focused in the market, still, you know, doing the best that I can, but taking more advantage now of my health, and, you know, doing better at, you know, eating. Hired a chef a few weeks back, and
Nice.
I've been eating a lot healthier. So it's all about building up that health pillar for me now.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I tell you, you know, when, you know, it's like, you know, I do the SteadyTrade team chat room too, and you know, people will be like, when people are talking about slow days and, you know, complaining and stuff, and I'm like, good. I'm like, thank God. I'm like, maybe I can actually go outside today. I'm like, you know, I talk about the, you know, the olden days, you know, like, to me, you know, with the stuff that I do, I mean, really, you know, late 2019, you know, and then we go into the shutdown in 2020. I mean, again, you go back to spring 2020, it's like, I feel like I spent about 2 hours outside last year, and it's like, please let it slow down, because man, it, you know, and we've talked about it several times, but man, you know, we only need one ticker. We don't need 500 a day. You know, give me 1 or 2, you know.
Yeah, definitely taking advantage of going outside, just because I've been, you know, locked pretty much in my apartment, just grinding away. And it's also been really cold out. So I've been going on midday walks pretty much religiously since it's gotten a little bit nicer out. So looking forward to that. And yeah, that's about it. We'll see how the market ends on the year. Like, if there's going to be some opportunity with potential catalysts upcoming. We'll see how Tesla does for the EV sector. We're going to see what they do about weed and shrooms, where now the government is very pro, you know, legalizing them. So maybe that will create some momentum. And we'll just kind of take it day by day and see how it goes.
Now, short term, so long term, you know, you plan on doing this for another 80 years, or what do you think?
We'll kind of see how it goes.
You'll be doing it 80 years. You ain't doing nothing else. I'll be interviewing. I'll be in a wheelchair, you know, drooling.
I'll be pushing you along.
Exactly. Steve will be pushing me in my wheelchair, and you'll still be doing it. You know, I mean, it's in you, man. You ain't getting it out. It's in you. You know,
yeah, no, I love the game.
I don't care if you make $1 billion, you'll still be trading.
Yeah, I mean, it just won't come down to like, I think it will be a lot better, because like it won't be me like constantly having to push myself and like keeping my accounts growing and like trying to do like better every time. Whereas like then it will just kind of be, you know, relax, do some swing trading, like don't get so aggressive on the day trades, so that like every tick matters, and like, you know what I mean? It will just to be a little bit more relaxed. But other than that as well, it's just also about making sure my health is good and just going about my days and just enjoying life as I get older and older, for sure.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. I mean, for me, I guess we're kind of coming to wrap it up. I just want to say that the best takeaway for me was not religiously like studying a pattern, but studying how a specific ticker will run through a cycle, and playing that cycle rather than, because you've always given us great advice. Like Jack's been instrumental in helping my trading and helping us grow. So thank you for that, Jack, and also thanks for the wisdom. And you've set me already thinking, how do I analyze tickers over multiple days rather than how do I just do the pattern in a silo? So thanks for that.
You know, I think one of the biggest takeaways too, like for me and for the listener is, you know, listen, the listeners have heard me say it 1 billion times, you know, I've called Tim Gattani the golden boy a billion times, and he's the man. But also realize that, hey, listen, maybe that doesn't mean it's necessarily the right way. Learn from that, be inspired from that. But at some point, just like long or short bias, or just like day trading or swing trading bias, or OTCs are listed, also understand that you need to forge your own path too. And I think that can trip some people up, because they're like, I'm just going to be this guy. I'm going to do exactly that. And what I love what Jack said is, like, he took that, but then he's like, okay, I got to find what works for me. So,
for sure.
Yeah, just have the confidence at the end of the day to know
well
that
said. Yep.
you can do this your way. You know what I mean? Like, in trading, there's so many different strategies. There's so many different stocks moving. You don't need to, necessarily trade what somebody else is trading. Like, if you can find something that works for you, like, stick to that and learn how to maximize and optimize what works for you. And if it's not working for you, don't just sit there and try and try and try and try.
Yeah.
We've seen that this week with some guys that keep trying to short first green days, man. I mean, the names will go unmentioned.
Couple of people, yeah.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years in, it's still trying the same thing, man. It's like, anyway.
We all know the names. We all know the names.
Anyway.
Just because it was a scam. So.
Yep. So, well, thanks, Jack, man. Always inspiring, man. Again, and I know I say it every time you come on. Just always have looked up to you, man. Again, I know as the guy 4 times older than you, I mean, I'm inspired by energy. I'm inspired by work ethic. I'm inspired by focus. And I mean, entrepreneurial spirit. I've gone on and on about, again, I said it at the beginning, this guy's hustling at a mall. He's got like 3 jobs, man, just trying to find his way. And that's the one big takeaway that we didn't talk about. Listen, if you're lazy, good luck, and
see you later. Don't join me webinars.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
Lazy, don't join me webinars. and if you don't cover VWAP, don't join me webinars. That was hilarious, by the way. That was an inside joke up. Tim Bohen now telling people don't come to me webinar if you don't follow the rules.
So thanks again, Jack. Thanks again, Kim. Thanks again, Stephen. And as always, again, if you're listening on iTunes, head over to SteadyTrade.com. We'll link to the Breakouts Breakdowns chat room. Again, it's Kyle and Jack in there every day. Obviously they come and go, but they're there every day. Probably, pretty much bracketed at the end of the day. They're there asking questions as well as doing the trade ideas and the trade alerts. I think it's, as I mentioned, it's a great value. And so check that out. We'll link over to Jack's Twitter as well as Profitly. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Stephen. And most of all, thank you, Jack. And to all of the listeners out there, we'll see you next time.